Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to continue with the India Nepal relations only. We have already talked about the significance of Nepal for India. We have already talked about the areas of cooperation which are there between the two countries. So today we are going to talk about the areas of conflict which are there and also about the way forward. Okay. So the first area of conflict or the bilateral issue which is there between the two countries is the 1950 India-Nepal Friendship Treaty. Okay, so let's first talk about the treaty, its provisions, and then we will talk about the issues which are associated with this treaty. Okay, so the context that is why this treaty was signed. The reason was China's expansionism. Okay, basically, China is called as an irredentist state. Actually, what is an irredentist state is कि वो country who always claim that this particular territory belonged to it in the past, so now it should be the part of it in the present as well. These kind of claims, and you people must be aware that China is having such claims in Taiwan as well, and China is having these kind of claims in Arunachal as well. This is how it claimed over Tibet. So China is basically an irredentist state. It has this policy of expansionism. Actually, this irredentist state is a term which is in international relations basically used for China. So you can use this term in the exam as well. So this is China, it's having the policy of expansionism. It's having this five-finger policy. That's why this weird looking hand I have made in order to show the five-finger policy of China. See, what is this? I have already written everything about this five-finger policy over here, but let me show you with the help of this hand. The palm of the hand. This is Tibet. Okay. So the palm of the hand is Tibet. The five fingers. What are these five fingers? Talking about this one. This is Ladakh of India. Okay. Then comes Nepal. Then comes Sikkim. Then comes Bhutan. And then comes Arunachal Pradesh. You can imagine it in your mind the map of India, China, and these particular basically the five finger. The palm is Tibet, and the five fingers are Ladakh, Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, and Arunachal. I've also written the importance of these five regions for China. Okay, just like Ladakh, for gaining control over Ladakh would provide China with unimpeded access to Pakistan. When it comes to Nepal, exerting influence over Nepal would grant China strategic access to the heartland of India. For Sikkim is basically very close to this chicken's neck or the Siliguri corridor. Okay, so effectively isolating the northeastern states from Indian mainland. So that's why this region is of a tactical advantage to China. Then comes Bhutan. Gaining control over Bhutan would bring China in proximity to Bangladesh, providing a potential route to Bay of Bengal and enhancing China's regional influence. Then comes Arunachal Pradesh. Securing control over Arunachal Pradesh would enable China to dominate the entire northeastern region of India, extending the military reach and the strategic influence in the area. So these are the five fingers, and the reasons why China wants to have a control. So basically because of this five-finger policy of China's expansionism, this was the reason that India-Nepal Friendship Treaty was signed. Okay, so now let's come to the provisions of this treaty. Let's see about let's look on the few provisions. There shall be an everlasting peace and friendship between the government of India and government of Nepal. The government should agree mutually to acknowledge and respect the complete sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the independence of each other. So basically, through this treaty, India accepted Nepal as a sovereign state. Two governments hereby undertake to inform each other in case of any serious friction or misunderstanding with any neighboring state which is likely to cause any breach in the friendly relation subsisting between the two governments. The government of Nepal shall be free to import from or through the territory of India arms, ammunition, warlike material, equipments which are necessary for the security of for the this is basically related to the defense cooperation, right? Then each government undertakes in token of the neighborly friendship between India and Nepal to give the national of the other in its territory national treatment with respect to participation in industrial and economic development. Like with respect to the industrial and economic development, the citizens of each country, they should be provided the status of nationals only. Like Indian nationals should be provided the status in Nepal, and Nepal nationals should be provided the status in India with respect to economic and industrial development, and to grant the concessions and contracts relating to such development. Then is Government of India and Nepal agree to grant on the reciprocal basis to the nationals of one country in the territories of the other the privileges in the matter of residence, ownership of property, participation in trade and commerce, movement, and other privileges of the similar nature. So basically on the reciprocal basis, like India providing it to Nepal, Nepal providing it to India, like to the nationals of the particular country, like be it in the matters of residence, ownership of property, or participation, trade, commerce. So these privileges, same kind of privileges should be provided, like supposedly in case of India, taking example of India, India should provide the opportunity to the Nepalese people in the similar way, just like the privileges it will be providing to its own citizens. This is the another provision of this treaty. Since looking at this treaty, we might feel that this treaty is more towards Nepal, right? This is providing more of benefits to Nepal and Nepalese people, be it in the terms of employment, be it in the terms of other economic opportunities, right? But still, yes, there are issues with respect to this treaty. The first and foremost, I have already talked about in the previous class as well, that it was signed by the Prime Minister of Nepal, and from Indian side it was signed by the Ambassador of India, who is definitely of a lesser designation as compared to the Prime Minister of Nepal. So basically, it was a kind of hurting the Nepali sentiments or their dignity. Basically, it was hurting that otherwise the people of same designation sign a particular treaty, and in fact such an important treaty, and it was signed by Indian ambassador and Prime Minister of Nepal. So that's why this is one of the issue. Then the treaty was signed by the Ranas, therefore it lacks the legitimacy. Then the third point, Nepal claims that India gets disproportionate benefits from the treaty, that it is saying that kind of economy, like Indian economy is basically getting more benefit because of the open borders which are there. Okay, so these are things, although we can see that definitely Nepali people are getting the employment opportunities, but they believe that India is getting the disproportionate advantage because Nepal is considered like basically we can say that Nepal being considered as a smaller state, India being considered as a larger state, they are saying that these open borders are actually providing India with more of advantage. Okay, so this is one of the claim by Nepal. Then another thing is it is impacting Nepal's sovereignty as well. See, when we were looking at the points of the provisions, there were something related, there were some points related to the defense as well. Okay, so basically they say that it interferes with the defense and the foreign policy of the country. Basically, the provisions are not such that they will impact, but there were some secret letters which were exchanged between the two governments, and the provision of those secret letters are basically the cause of conflict. What was written in those secret letters was both the countries countries shall not tolerate any kind of aggression against each other. And the another is Nepal shall not import arms from any other country except India. And in case India fails to meet the requirements, then with the due permission of India, then Nepal can import it from third country. Actually, they were secret letters, no doubt, but they got revealed due to some reason. So basically, these were the points which are a kind of contention between the two countries. Like basically these provision of these secret letters are a kind of issues with respect to like India and Nepal. Okay, so these are the issues with respect to this treaty. Now what can be the way forward? Okay, so way forward in this case we can say, see, the Nepali people or Nepal government actually want to revise this treaty. Okay, so the thing is, what can we write in the way forward is that government of India should be willing to revise the treaty. There are various reasons behind that. Number one, because this treaty has generated a lot of anti-India sentiments in Nepal. This has been actually used many a times by Nepali governments for their political gains. So this treaty has generated a lot of anti-Indian sentiments. Second one, provisions of secret letters have already been violated, just like it was written that Nepal will not can say get any kind of arms emanations from any third country, but Nepal has already violated it. Like it has already purchased these arms ammunitions from China in the past. So provisions have already been violated. Then treaty provides substantial benefit to Nepalis to seek employment in India. So that's why they would not want a drastic overhaul of the treaty. This is also a point in India's favor that yes, even if yes they want to change it, let's revise this treaty. But we are like this treaty, we know that it's providing a lot of opportunities, economic opportunities to the Nepalis. So that's why even they would not want a drastic overhaul कि completely change कर दे treaty को. So they would also not want it. So government of India should be willing to do that. There is a former diplomat who has said that the issue needs to be discussed keeping all the stakeholders in mind and not just by few who are aiming to do this for the narrow political gains. Yes, it's important to keep in mind all the stakeholders which are involved and revise this treaty. Okay, so this is the way forward in this case. I hope this point is clear about 1950 treaty, about its provisions, about its context, about its issues associated with it, and what shall be the way forward. Okay. Now, very important, even from the perspective of prelims, is the territorial dispute. Basically, there are two territorial disputes. One is with respect to this Kalapani region, and another one is with respect to the one is with Kalapani region, other is Susta region. Okay, so the first one is the Kalapani, which India considers to be the part of Uttarakhand, Kalapani region in Uttarakhand. So this yellow portion, this is the map of India, Nepal, China. This is at the confluence of these three countries. So this is this triangular region. This triangular region is basically the region of Kalapani, which is a dispute between India and Nepal. It's a 372 square kilometer of land which is located at the tri-junction of India, Nepal and China. India considers it to be the part of Pittorgarh district of Uttarakhand, and Nepal considered it to be the part of Sudar Paschim province of Nepal. Okay, so let's look at it. See, these three things are in three particular points are important. This point, Limpia Dhuria, this point, Lipu Lake, and this entire region is the Kalapani region, and here there is a village of Kalapani as well. Okay, so these are the basically three important points with respect which should be remembered from the perspective of prelims as well. Okay, so let's talk about the origin of dispute. See, thing is both India and Nepal claim to this Kalapani region. Kalapani region derives its name from river Kali. In Nepal, the river is also known as Mahakali. It holds much of the significance in Nepal, just like the river India is there for India, just like river Ganga, which is there for India. in the similar way, Mahakali River holds the significance for Nepal. So, the origin of dispute was because of a treaty, which was the Treaty of Sugauli, which was signed after the Anglo-Nepalese War. Okay, so this was the Treaty of Sugauli, which was signed, and according to this treaty, the river Kali is going to serve as a natural border between India and Nepal. Okay, so but where the problem comes, the river is going to be a natural border, but the source of river Kali has been a point of dispute. Like from where the river actually originates from, that is a point of dispute between the two countries. What is the Nepal stand? Nepal is of the view that the river which flew to the west of the Kalapani is the main river Kali. Okay, it flows to the west of Kalapani, which is the river Kali, and they also believe that river Kali originate either at Limpiadhuria or nearby the Lipu Lake Pass, which are both within the Nepalese territory. India says that India believes that the river Kali originates from a smaller rivulet named Pankhagad. It lies on the southern portion of Kalapani, therefore its true border, and the Kalapani territory is basically the part of India. Okay, so Nepal says that it either from this point or either from this point, दोनों में से किसी भी पॉइंट से काला पानी का जो काली रिवर का जो ओरिजिन है, एंड दोनों के दोनों ये जो पार्ट है, लिपू लेक है चाहे वो लिम्पियाधुरी है, देयर आर पार्ट ऑफ नेपाल, लाइक राइट. वेयर एज इंडिया सेज कि काला पानी जो है रिवर उसकी थोड़ी सी साउदर्न प्रोजेक्शन में यहाँ से काली रिवर ओरिजिनेट होती है. सो यहाँ पे जो काली रिवर है वो ओरिजिनेट होती है. दैट्स वाई इसके जो इस साइड वाला वेस्टर्न साइड वाला पोर्शन है वो सारा इंडिया को बिलोंग करता है. ओके, सो दिस इज द बेसिकली डिस्प्यूट बिटवीन द two countries and the stand of the two countries. Okay, now the steps being taken with respect to solving this dispute, let's see them. In 1988, Nepal officially brought the issue of Kalapani before India. Prime Minister I.K. Gujral promised to give up these areas if Nepal was able to provide the evidence for its claim. Year of 2000, prime ministerial level talk between the Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and visiting Nepal PM GP Koirala. Both sides agreed to demarcate the outstanding areas including Kalapani by 2000. However, the mechanisms led by the two foreign secretaries did not make progress. Year of 2014, at the meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Nepali counterpart Sushil Prasad Koirala, it was agreed to set up a boundary working group for the speedy settlement of the border issue in the Kalapani and the Susta region as well. However, the issues have not yet been resolved. So these are the steps which have been taken in the past in order to solve the dispute, but the dispute has yet not been solved. Okay, so this region was actually there in the news recently as well. Recently, a constitutional amendment bill was passed by Nepal's parliament to legitimize the alteration to the country's map with the addition of Kalapani, Lipu Lake, Limpidhuria. So Nepal's parliament passed a map of Nepal including Kalapani region, entire Kalapani region of like be it the Kalapani village, be it Limpiadhuria, be it Lipu Lake, all three were included in the map of Nepal, but India called it as the cartographic aggression. Cartography is basically related to map. Okay, so this was happened, and then in 2024 there was also a decision by Nepal's cabinet to include the new map on the currency notes in 2024, which has reignited the tensions. The new map basically with this finger like projection ऐसा है ना कुछ काला पानी रीजन, तो बेसिकली उन्होंने ये पूरा का पूरा रीजन जो है दिस काला पानी रीजन एंड ये बाकी पूरा नेपाल ऐसे दिखाया था उन्होंने. नेपाल जैसे ये काला पानी रीजन हो गया, ये नेपाल की टेरिटरी होगी, ठीक है, तो ये उन्होंने इस तरह से दिखाया था इस काला पानी रीजन को भी अपने लाइक अ फिंगर लाइक प्रोजेक्शन, एंड दे आर नाउ सेइंग दैट दे आर गोइंग टू पुट दिस मैप ऑन देयर करेंसी नोट्स एज वेल. सो बेसिकली दिस हैज आल्सो reignited this issue that that this region is actually a disputed region, right? And they are unilaterally trying to solve it out, or they are trying to solve this issue, resolve this issue, and put it on their map, on their currency notes as well, right? So this has reignited the issue. Now, अब कुछ तो रीजन होगा ना that both countries are fighting over this region. So what is the importance of Kalapani actually for Nepal? This region, it's not of any kind of strategic importance, but for India it has a strategic importance. See, first, it is located at the height of 20,000 feet. It serves as an advantage point for Indian Army to observe Chinese activity along the LAC. 1962, Indian Army had a military observation post manned by ITBP, Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force. So it had a military observation post since the year of 1962 in context of greater Chinese transgression along the LAC. Since there had been Chinese transgressions along LAC, that's why it requires it acquires a greater significance for India. So this is about the point. Since this is at the tri-junction of India, China and Nepal, this is holding a kind of strategic importance for India. So what can be the way forward? So see, it's important to understand that the region of Kalapani, this is not having much of importance for Nepal. Okay, basically it's, yes, it is related with the prestige of Nepal, but yes, when it comes to strategic importance, it is not of a great advantage to Nepal. Now, what can be the way forward? Way forward can be in the spirit of Gujarat Doctrine. India should recognize Kalapani as a part of Nepal. India should recognize, but on the condition that it should give it to India on the permanent lease. This will satisfy the Nepali nationalist sentiment while addressing India's security concerns, right? So this can be written as the way forward about this region. Now, oh, I'm really sorry, I forgot to mention about the Susta dispute. Let's try to understand it, okay? So, since there was the Susta dispute, this is a region of now this is the region basically in near Bihar, in Champaran, in Bihar, Champaran. Okay, so what is this Susta dispute? This is basically the origin is basically this is related to river Gandak. I would request you people to make notes over this. So the river Gandak is there. Okay. So which is going to again act as a kind of border between India and Nepal. River Gandak is there. The region of Susta, when Treaty of Sugauli was signed, the region of Susta was on the right bank. It was on the right bank of river Gandak. Right, but what happened is with the river Gandak changing its course, it was earlier on the right bank, which was on the basically Nepali side, but now river Gandak has basically changed its course. Okay, it has changed its course. So now what? Now the region of Susta is on the, I'm sorry, the region of Susta is now on the left bank. It's now on the left bank, which is basically there in Champaran in Bihar. So basically now Susta region is there in India. This is a point of dispute, territorial dispute between the two countries because of the river Gandak changing its course. Okay, so now what's important is what can be the way forward in this case. The way forward in this case can be that the two countries need to basically they do not, existing treaties whatever there are between the two countries, they do not take into consideration any kind of basically the changing course of the Himalayan rivers. The bilateral treaties which are there, they do not take into consideration this thing. Okay, so issues like this, they can be resolved by taking into consideration the environmental characteristics of the rivers as well, or the geographical territories, or basically these geographical borders if they are there. So we need to take into account these environmental considerations as well and establish standards basically to deal with any such issue. Because These are the environmental things, they are bound to happen. So if we want to maintain good ties in a particular respect, it's important to take into environmental characteristics as well in order to solve these issues. Okay, so this is about this Susta region. This is basically because of the river Gandak changing its course only. Okay, and river Gandak is basically called as Narayani river in Nepal. Okay, so you need to remember this thing. Now, talking about another important thing, which is not new when it comes to the neighbors of India, the issue of China and Nepal. Okay, now point comes, why is China interested in Nepal? China's interest in Nepal, one is the basic reason of Chinese presence in Nepal is to ensure Nepalese territory is not used by Tibetans for the breeding of discontent. Okay, one is because of this, and other one is in order to check the India's influence in Nepal, because China wants to have its more influence in this region of South Asia. That's why basically it wants to check India's influence in Nepal. That's why it wants to have a basically good relations with Nepal. Now, the next question comes, why is Nepal interested in China? See, the reason for Nepal's interest in China is China's deep pockets. Deep pockets is basically related to money matters. Like China is having a lot of money and Nepal needs investment because of China's deep pockets. Deep pockets is another term which is a term which should be used in various kind of answers, because these are kind of scientific terms or basically specific terms which are used in international relations, and these kind of terms are definitely going to provide an edge to you over the answers of others. Okay, so China has deep pockets, that's why this is of one of the interest to Nepal. And another one thing is to balance India, because India को बोला जाता है, like all its neighbor call it India as a big bully brother. Okay, so bullying big brother बोला जाता है India को by the basically our neighboring countries. So basically in order to balance India, they want to have good relations with China. And see, we already know that it is locked between these two regional powers, so that's why it wants to have a balanced relations with both the countries. So that's why Nepal is interested in China. Now, what is the evidence of China and Nepal? Recently, China and Nepal have signed 12 agreements to enhance the bilateral cooperation in the sectors. This is the news of the year of 2023 only, of the month of September, like year ago. Okay, so Nepal and China have signed 12 agreements to enhance the bilateral cooperation in sectors of trade, road connectivity and information technology, and there are various memorandums of understandings. These are the basically some of the memorandums of understandings which have been signed between the two countries, like basically enhancing digital economy cooperation on the green and the low carbon development in the fields of agriculture, livestock, fisheries, in the field of science, technology, innovation, in the field of human resource development, review Nepal-China trade and the payment agreements. So these are the few memorandums of understandings and various agreements which have been signed to enhance the bilateral cooperation between the two countries of China and Nepal. Okay. So various other kind of projects and in various other aspects as well. Key projects like cross Himalayan railways, airports, hydroelectric power plants are enhancing connectivity and contributing to Nepal's economic growth. Nepal has actually expressed interest in China's BRI. It has joined China's BRI in the year of 2017, aiming to improve the infrastructure, connectivity and trade facilitation. Then in 2018, China began providing broadband connectivity to Nepal, which earlier had been a monopoly of India. China and Nepal have engaged in joint military exercises and increased defense cooperation, focusing on the capacity building and the military training. So the name of that defense exercise, the Sagarmatha Joint Friendship Exercise. Okay, So China has provided military aid to Nepal, further strengthening their defense ties. So these are the various examples, these are the various evidences of China's influence in Nepal. Let me tell you with the term which has been said by the two countries for each other. The two countries have also described themselves to be bound by the mountains and rivers which stay as close as lips and teeth. Basically, this is the term which is used by, this is the sentence which you can use, like the officials of the particular country have used this sentence for each other. Okay, so basically this can be mentioned. So next thing is, since China is having its great involvement in Nepal, so how does it impact India? How China's involvement in Nepal impact India? One is the security concerns. China's influence in Nepal could potentially lead to strategic encirclement for India, as it strengthens its presence in a country that shares a long border in India, and that too, the border which is an open border. Okay, so this raises a security concern for India. Another one, access to resources, China's infra projects, economic engagement in Nepal. It's definitely going to compete with Indian investments in Nepal. Then is Belt and Road initiatives and connectivity. See, when it comes to Nepal's participation in China's BRI initiative, BRI can result in significant increase in China-backed infrastructure projects and connectivity, which is subsequently going to harm the interest of India. Then in regional coordination, because of China is definitely wanting to have a more engagement in this particular region. It's going to increase its influence in the region. So Nepal's closer ties provide strategic depth to China in South Asia and potentially align China to project power and influence beyond its borders. Okay. So China's deepening involvement in Nepal might make it more challenging for India to coordinate regional responses and initiate effectively. So these are the various concerns which India is having because of China's involvement in Nepal. Now, since the involvement is there, so some steps need to be taken by the government of India as well. So what are these steps which have been taken by the government of India? So the first one, developing connectivity with Nepal, trying to establish various inland water connectivity, laying down petroleum product pipelines, and the examples you can take the steps taken. You can actually take the examples of this from the areas of cooperation portion, where I have talked about the cooperation between the two countries on different respects. So examples of the water connectivity, examples of the rail connectivity, examples of this petroleum pipeline which has been made between the two countries, which is going to be the first of its kind in the Asian region, right? So you can take these examples from that particular topic only of the area of cooperation in terms of connectivity. Okay, then is using soft power to counter China's hard power. India launched bus service from Janakpur to Ayodhya. Janakpur, which is the birthplace of goddess Sita, and Ayodhya, birthplace of Lord Ram. So connecting the Ramayana circuit. This is one. Then another one is the vaccine diplomacy, which has been used by India. 1 million doses of Covishield to Nepal as grant assistance were provided. So these are the various steps which have been taken by the government of India. I've already talked about areas of cooperation. You can write about, take examples from there, mention it over here about the steps which have been taken by Indian government to maintain healthy relationship or increase its relationship with Nepal. Okay, so this is about it. Now, what can be the way forward? Way forward be in the terms of all kind of issues which are there between the two countries. To mitigate the challenges, India needs to engage proactively with Nepal, enhance development assistance, strengthen economic ties, foster people-to-people relationship. India must work on multilateral initiatives and regional cooperation to counterbalance the expanding Chinese influence in Nepal and ensure the stability and the prosperity in the region. That is, diplomacy, dialogue, collaboration would be crucial in managing these challenges effectively. So diplomacy, dialogue, collaboration, these are going to be the most important steps in order to in order to basically, we can say, in order to manage any kind of challenge. And another thing we can write is India should communicate its red lines to the Nepal with respect to its security concerns which it is having with respect to China. Okay, so this can be another point. Okay, so this is all with respect to India China, sorry, India Nepal relationships, and I think you need not do anything except the current affairs, like whatsoever the current affair, you can incorporate that in this, and India Nepal relationship is complete. So in the next class, we'll be taking about another neighbor of India. We will be talking about, so we have covered India, Bangladesh, we have covered India, Sri Lanka, we have covered India, Pakistan, India, Afghanistan. So we will be covering maybe India, China or India, Bhutan. I'll see, and we'll talk about it in the next class. If you people want the PDFs or these presentations, do let me know in the comment section. So I'll be providing them on the Telegram. Okay, so do let me know about it. And in case of any doubt, you can ask in the comment section. Right. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself and be happy. See you the next time. Bye.